Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I call the meeting of the Labor and Workforce Development Committee to order. It is Thursday, August 14th at 12 p.m. Keeling, will you please call the roll?
Good afternoon. Novick?
Here.
Green?
Here.
Dunphy?
Here.
Small?
Here.
Smith?
Here. Thank you. In today's meeting, the Labor and Workforce Development Committee will approve the committee minutes, receive a presentation of the Community Opportunities and Enhancement Program and the Bull Run Filtration Project, consider an ordinance to authorize the use of disparity studies to inform and support minority contracting opportunities, hear public testimony on labor and workforce development issues. Clerk Keeling, please read the first item.
May 15th, 2025 through July 24th, 2025, Labor and Workforce Development Committee minutes.
Okay.
The minutes can be approved by unanimous consent if there's no objection from your colleagues.
Are there any objections? Nope. Minutes are approved by unanimous consent. Without objection, the minutes are approved. Let's bring the first item up.
Item number 2, Community Opportunities and Enhancements Program and the Bull Run Filtration Project.
Could I have DCA Priya? I see you. And DCA Donnie Oliveira. Could you please introduce yourselves and talk about what you're going to be here presenting on today?
Good afternoon, Chair Smith and councillors. I'm Priya Dhanapal, the DCA for Public Works for City of Portland, and today I'll be providing a focused update on the Bull Run Filtration Plant, specifically the workforce impacts from the recent land use suspension and where we stand now.
Excellent.
Thank you, Chair. Councilors. For the record, my name is Donnie Oliveira. I'm the DCA for Community and Economic Development, and I'll be with you today to provide a high-level overview of the community's Community Opportunities and Enhancement Program and discuss some next steps we're contemplating. Thank you.
Thank you. DCA Dhanapal, could you start us off?
Absolutely. We're sharing slides. Great. The Bull Run project will ensure our water remains safe and abundant for generations, and it's required by EPA under the Safe Drinking Water Act to treat for cryptosporidium. And our compliance deadline for this project is September 30th, 2027. So every month matters as we work towards building a facility that will protect our public health as well as ensure reliability for future generations. And next slide, please. In this presentation, I'll cover a brief project overview, discuss the pre- and post-suspension workforce numbers, and take any questions or comments you have for our team. Next slide.
Is there a possibility that you could speak louder or
Absolutely.
get closer to the mic?
Can you hear me now, Councillor?
Yes.
Absolutely, great. So as you see in this slide, we are currently in active construction for both the filtration facility and connecting pipelines, and our aim is to meet the 2027 deadline. The remand has caused a delay, but we are still working to meet the deadline as set in our bilateral compliance agreement with OHA. Next slide, please. This project is a $2.1 billion program, and it's one of the largest investments in a city's history. It is also an important investment in long-term water safety and resiliency. And our VIFIA loan that we secured will help reduce the financing costs, protecting ratepayers over the course of the project. We are still evaluating the cost impacts of the remand and look forward to sharing that with the council in October when we will present our annual report on the Bull Run filtration. Next slide, please. This project is a major economic driver, and it has created thousands of jobs, directing nearly $400 million to local contractors. And next slide. And before the land use pause, we were making steady progress towards the 20% apprenticeship utilization goal and exceeding it in some trades. And these numbers reflect the strength of our contractor partnerships and the diversity of our workforce. This slide here shows the breakdown in apprenticeship by trade for the filtration project. For power equipment operators and laborers, we are exceeding the 20% apprenticeship utilization goal and making progress towards the goal with other trades. And on the pipelines project, we were already meeting the 20% utilization goal before the land use pause. And again, these numbers also reflect the strength of our contractor partnerships. Next slide. This slide shows the breakdown in apprenticeship by trade for the pipelines project. For laborers, we were exceeding the 20% apprenticeship goal and making progress with the power equipment operators and carpenters. Next slide. The land use suspension lasted 5 months. We spent about $80 million during this period to maintain momentum, and this time was spent to include design reviews, equipment procurement, and preparing for the restart. The workforce dropped from about 350 craft workers to just a handful for the site security. Again, we were at or about nearly all our workforce goals except for apprenticeships, which our contractor was working to increase. And I cannot emphasize enough how much of our regular meetings and partnerships with trade groups representatives really made the difference. Next slide, please. After the restart, staffing returned to pre-suspension levels within just 4 weeks, which is a proof that the workforce readiness was never a limiting factor, particularly given the good partnership we have with the contractors. Next slide. Like filtration, the pipeline workforce levels have rebounded quickly as well since the pause ended. And that is a very high-level update of a workforce on the bull run filtration. And I'm happy to answer questions now if you would like, or I can pass it to my colleague, DCA Oliveira, to finish the presentation and answer the questions at the end.
Thank you. Do any of my colleagues have any questions of DCA Dhanapal? Thank you.
Thank DCA Dhanapal.
DCA Oliveira?
Thank you. I'll get the other presentation teed up. Okay, thank you. So councilors, at a high level, the Community Opportunities and Enhancement Program, COEP, going forward, is a City of Portland initiative designed to increase diversity in construction and contracting. It aims to increase representation and it removes barriers for construction firms so that many of our contractors and small businesses that are local to the city have a greater access to our larger infrastructure projects. Next slide, please. So I want to go through like a brief history of the program. The language on the left is actually in the ordinance that was adopted in 2020. But starting back in November of 2017, then the City Council adopted a resolution that began to contemplate how the City of Portland could better serve our communities and our contractor communities to provide a funding mechanism to support workforce development and technical business assistance services. That program evolved with the first MOU, basically a memorandum of understanding between the city and Prosper. I want to take a moment to acknowledge that when I talk about the city, we had organizations like the former OMF, or Office of Management and Finance, which is now our Fleet and Services and Procurement. We had the Office of Equity and Human Rights, and our Public Works Bureaus, Water, Environmental Services, Transportation and Parks, working with Prosper to contemplate how to deliver those services. In the year of 2020, First Council adopted an ordinance to direct an IGA, intergovernmental agreement between City and Prosper. And then really we codified the program in November of that year that established COEP in code. It set admin rules, and it really put the foundation of what the program was to deliver to our business and workforce communities. Where we're at today is we are in the final year of the current IGA between City and Prosper. and we'll go into those details a little bit. But fundamentally, this has been an iterative process that has resulted in the work that we'll discuss momentarily. Next slide, please. So really quickly, the COEP fee calculation, as described in Admin Rule 1.25 of the chapter that governs COEP, describes the fees being calculated in two ways. The first is activity-based rate, which is 1% of the hard costs on capital improvement projects over $500,000 in the Water Bureau, Environmental Services, and our OMF, now Fleet and Facilities, capital improvement projects. And then we have a fixed rate model for Parks and Rec and PBOT that pays a fixed rate based on their historical contract values, and that's adjusted annually for the CAL adjustment period. So this is the foundation of how those fees are calculated and how we build the program based on. Next slide, please. So really at a high level, we're in the second and final year of the current IGA that runs through this fiscal year. And for this two-year funding program, this total was approximately $2.6 million or $2,598,000, broken down into two distinct buckets: $635,000 for business technical assistance and close to $2 million for workforce development. We'll go through those specifics in a second. In total, this would bring that approximately 6-7 year commitment to just shy of $9 million in COEP resources available to our contractor and workforce community. Next slide, please. For the service providers that are offering business technical assistance, the $635,000 was distributed as such. You can see there that Latino Build, Livelihood Northwest, NAMAC, PBDG, and Urban League received the appropriate the amounts listed. Those are their annual goals and the current targets for their businesses served in fiscal year 23-24, 24-25, and of course we'll have data for this year later on. I just want to flag that this IGA is in partnership with these organizations who represent the business and workforce communities that we want to support through the COEP program. They're indicative of the leadership and the folks that know best on how to provide those services. And we can go into details about the types they provide, but we really look to them to deliver these grants are administered through Prosper Portland, but really it's these organizations that are as partners that are guiding this work. Next slide, please.
And DCA Oliveira, so this is for, okay, that was my next question. What happened to the workforce development piece?
Next
Okay.
slide, please.
Thank you.
And this is the breakdown of how the remainder of that $2.6 million is allocated through workforce systems. So the money goes through workforce systems, and then they partner with these organizations to deliver those specific services. As you can see on the scopes, there's a varying range of specifics, but largely we cover outreach and recruitment, pre-apprenticeship training, and retention services by organization. Next slide, please. And so this is really the opportunity for us to have a conversation about where we're at today and the opportunities for next steps. It just so happens that earlier this year in March, City Administrator Jordan had directed, at the time it was DCA Morrissey and I, and now DCA Donna Paul's included, to begin the evaluation of the program for what comes next. We are at the end of this IGA cycle, and so now is the appropriate opportunity to start evaluating not just the financial structure of the program, but the program improvements that we might contemplate going forward. Those meetings have already started. They began earlier this summer, and that's really to get us to 26-27. More interesting, perhaps, for this conversation is that we've been hearing loud and clear that there's an opportunity for us to improve the existing IGA, and while that exists and there's not a lot of change to be had in the structure, we do think there's an opportunity for us to work more collaboratively with our public works bureaus, with procurement, and with Prosper and our external partners to get the right technical assistance to the people that need it today. And so those conversations have already started, and we're really excited about the opportunity for us to make some small tweaks, perhaps introduce some additional resources to the pool to get through the remainder of the year to meet the demand that's out there that we desperately know needs to be met. As I shared with some colleagues earlier, these are extraordinary times for our contracting community, and anything we can do to help. And it probably is not necessary to unpack the IGA. There's just not a lot of time, but adding more resources and refining some of the delivery of those services is probably the low-hanging fruit there. I'll also want to offer that, we are collecting data, and our program providers have continued to exceed our target goals. We do an annual survey, and we continue to see that the services they are providing are far exceeding the targeted outcomes that we had set up in the program initially. And the last thing I'll offer to this regarding the current IGA versus the need today, when this program was contemplated, it was designed to help the broader ecosystem of contractors and workforce. We were looking at how do we support emerging businesses and contractors to get access to the contracts and the infrastructure projects the city was producing. I think it's fair to say that just the uncertain times we're experiencing, the need might be shifting, and the projects and the contractors on those existing projects might need a little more direct support than the program initially contemplated, and we're happy to figure out how to deliver those resources there. And I'm going to stop there I think that was the last slide, to answer any questions you all may have.
Thank you. This was very, very, very good. And just kind of piggybacking on the last question, on the last statement that you made about having additional conversations on this new IGA that's coming up in 26, 27. I'm sure you're going to be able to look at some of the best practices to see, you know, what worked, what did not work. But I would like to be sure that you're involving a larger coalition than the ones that were identified in the workforce development and in the technical assistance, so that people can feel, you said you kind of did a high level approach to this, and you were dealing with some extraordinary circumstances, especially during COVID. So I want to make sure that we are talking to everybody, giving us the input that we need to make this an exceptional program. And I like what you said when you said we're going to try to identify if there are other opportunities to increase the funding for COEP. That was great. I want to talk to you in Pri, I want to hear from the contractors, and then we can have a conversation about, you know, what's doable now, what can be changed today versus what can be changed in the new IGA. Is that fair?
That's perfect. Thank you, Councilor.
Yes. Councilor Dunphy.
Yeah, sorry. Just looking at slide 5, which outlines the service providers for business technical assistance. I'm noting that the budget is pretty flat across groups, but the expectations of goals are pretty disparate, and the number of businesses actually served is pretty lopsided. I mean, NAMAC is punching above their weight. I understand that some of that has to do with the slowdown because of the remand for the 24-25, but can you tell me a little bit about how the dollar amounts were tied to the goals of businesses served?
Thanks for the question, Councilor. Without getting too much in the weeds, because it's a fair question, it also depends on the types of services that are being provided, right? Are we actually helping contractors with like bookkeeping? Are we actually providing technical assistance in a higher capacity? Are they covering more ground in work sessions? Each provider is not only has a unique group of people they work with, but they're also providing a certain set of expertise that may allow them to talk to more people, you know, more broadly than a targeted, you know, session. But the resources reflect the service more than the numbers. It's almost unfair to show businesses served because not all those data points are equal in terms of service provided. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, it's different kinds of services being provided to different kinds of businesses. Correct. Is the slowdown that is experiencing between the 23-24 and the 24-25, is that almost exclusively related to the remand for LUBA?
It is one of many factors, Councilor. I would not pin it on any particular project nor any particular, I mean, I think we had a general, because remember these services, these contractors are providing resources and expertise to many businesses that are experiencing a downturn in our construction economy. And I think this is just a general zeitgeist and reflective of City of Portland's overall development malaise.
Thank you.
DCA Oliveira, do you think that slowdown in terms of the businesses served had anything to do with we had a delay in the bull run for a few months. Do you think that had anything to do with it?
I would not pin any sort of downturn or even have these numbers reflect necessarily a downturn. Some of them are because just general malaise in our development cycle, but to pin it on Bull Run, for example, I don't think would be fair.
Okay, okay.
And maybe that's something that we're teasing out is there a direct connection between these services and the projects that our city's infrastructure bureaus are working on. And there's to reiterate, the whole ecosystem of construction, contractors, development is experiencing sort of a recalibration, and that's tough. And so when you see numbers go down across the board, is it noise? Is it correlation? Is there a possibility that this is direct? Perhaps. And I would say, generally speaking, yes. But to pin it to one particular project is not fair.
Well, the struggle is real for many of the small contractors. And I was talking to the mayor yesterday, and he said, look outside. He said, how many cranes do you see? He said, back in 2017, we had cranes all over the place. Yeah. We don't see as many cranes. And so that is a very elementary kind of way to look at it, but that is the truth. The cranes can tell you what we're doing in a city and the type of development that we're having. So I do understand that. I want to make sure that before you leave, that if we have any other questions from the committee before we bring the next panel up, if they have any questions. I think Councilor Green, you have a question.
Thank you, Chair Smith. Thank you, Donnie, for being here. My question is around the IGA and a little bit of just like to get a little bit more understanding of where that kind of came from and why the city thought that it was best to kind of work with grant Prosper the sort of the duty, I suppose, of executing this program.
I'm going to act as a historian here. Excuse me, Councilor. Thanks for the question, and offer that the Prosper had the existing relationships with like work systems, for example. Prosper can be a little bit more agile in their contracting, given just the nature of the organization. And frankly, they have done business some technical assistance in other capacities as well. They just had that muscle. Not to say that the infrastructure bureaus couldn't have done that or didn't have that or procurement. It just felt, as has been shared with me, the right place to put it from a consistency perspective. And that was the logic chain behind it. No more than that.
Okay, thank you. And I guess my second question would be, either the current IGA or what's contemplated maybe as improvements on it. How would we approach like oversight and kind of engagement when we hear from a contractor or constituent that this program is not working for them? Because it seems to span two different service areas, and then there's also Prosper Portland. So that's a little confusing, and I would just like to know how best to support that in partnership with the administration.
Council, that's a great question. It's actually part of the conversation we're having today. I won't speak for them. I'll just say that from my seat, having Prosper and the infrastructure bureaus and procurement working together and sharing information more effectively will absolutely benefit our community partners. So they know who to go to, they know how to approach and get the resources they're looking for. Right now, it's just who you know, and that's just unfair. It's just a lot of legwork for people to interact with us, so you've actually nailed one of the things that we're trying to solve for.
Thank you, and I appreciate that sort of recognizing the who you know thing is something, it's not unique to this problem. It's everywhere in society, and I think that's part of what we're trying to overcome specifically with this program. And so this is a really timely conversation. That concludes my questions at this time, Chair.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Councilor Canal.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for being here, DCA Oliveira, and also DCA Donapal. So my question is maybe going to force you to put the historian hat back on a little bit. Ordinance 190, 197 requires annual reporting to City Council, and I just wanted to understand when, I couldn't find it, the most recent one. So I'm curious what time of year that normally happens and what the plan is around that, when the last time it occurred.
Councilor, I will get back to you on that. You've stumped me on that requirement, so thank you.
Yeah, it's weird. It's worded kind of in a way that it implies that procurement does it, OEHR does it, and OMF does it. And I'm not sure if there's distinct things in there, but it's in the exhibits, and it's in the binding city policy. It's ADM 1.25. Yeah,
let me, maybe when there's other presenters, I'll do that homework and get back to you shortly.
DCA Oliveira, I do see our procurement director back here. He may be able to help you.
Perfect.
with that answer.
Phone a friend.
I know, Sylvester, I saw you out the corner of my eye. And I was thinking that he could talk to you offline, but I appreciate you coming to the table.
I'm sorry, I assumed you were asking me to show up at the big kids table, so that's why I showed up.
I'm gonna have the big kids show up at the big kids table, so go ahead.
In support of that question, I would like to engage with my team in terms of the time frame. I believe that our compliance team does provide data that's reported to the council in an informal consent process.
Okay. And so, Councilor Canal, is that answer adequate for what you're trying to identify?
Not really.
I've only been here 10 months, so I can't give you the exact cycle in which that was reported. However, I will like to check with my team and see how that's reported to you, the method, and also to double check myself and make sure that the process includes all of the information that's required.
Fair enough. Yeah, I'm happy to get the rest offline. Just quickly clarifying, have you done an annual report in those 10 months?
I have not in my 10 months. I have asked for quarterly, and I've worked with my team in order to get quarterly reports just in general as a procurement reporting, and you probably will see some of that contracting performance in the upcoming months.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Canal, before we end, could you give us a description of the report that you're talking about? Because I'm not familiar with it.
Sure.
Could you give me?
Let me close the tab. Here we go. So this is on COEP specifically.
Okay. And where are you getting this description from?
This is Exhibit B to Ordinance 190197 that defined the program. It created a binding city policy, ADM 1.25. This is section 3.1.4. Establish annual performance metrics for the COEP performance and report to City Council. It's also down below. Section 6, OMF and OAHR will report annually and as requested to City Council on the activities, expenditures, and outcomes for the previous year.
Okay, excellent. Well, thank you. I think DCA Oliveira, you can get back to us and email all of us of the findings, include the director as a part of that email, and we'll get back to you. If you all could please stay in the hearing room until after our next panel comes up, that would be great, because I'm sure we're going to have some conversation that you're going to want to respond to.
Thank you.
And Madam Chair, can I just also note it is in City Code 5.35.060 as well.
So if they forget, is it in City Code? Could you say that again, Councilor Canal?
5.35.060, and I think that's defining that administrative rules have to figure that out, and then the administrative rules I mentioned earlier are how that was defined, what the report should include.
I think I'm going to make you the parliamentarian of the council. That's what I'm going to do. No, it's excellent. We're going to call the second, is that the second or the third, Keeling?
The next item, number 3, authorize use of disparity studies to inform and support minority contracting opportunities.
No, we need to stay on agenda item 2.
Oh, okay.
And would that be the second panel with Maurice Ramming? Okay, Maurice Ramming, Randall Friesen, Mark Matthews, Faye Birch, and Andre Ba. Maurice Ramming, thank you so much for being here today. If you could introduce yourself and tell what company you're from, and give us a quick synopsis of your understanding of the COEP program and what's working and what's not working.
Okay, and I'll try to be quick. And I believe Randall is also online, and Andre Ba is also online. So my name is Maurice Ramming. Thank you, councilors, for having me here today. My company is O'Neill Construction Group, O'Neill Electric, and Howard Jacobs Masonry. And so my overview on the synopsis of what's happening, and over the last few years, we've been participating also with Pacific Mark as well on a lot of the ratepayer-funded dollar projects, whether it was Washington Park or the Columbia Boulevard wastewater remodel there. With that said, and 2/3 of those funds comes from go to the co-op come from those particular projects. We haven't had any real engagement for us as a general contractor or us as a subcontractor or any of our subcontractors being able to access technical assistance on these projects. These projects are very complicated projects. And so it's critical for their success to be able to have that assistance necessary to be successful. One of the things that, and I'm like, I bring up problems, so I'd like to come with solutions as well. In the past, when we had the 1%, which was the CBA, and then it turned into the CEIP and so on, where there was heavy reporting that was done on it, and it was, the monies were listened to by the people, the boots on the ground, which are the contractors and the subcontractors and the workers, right, and what the needs were. And then the allocations were associated to those needs, and that was done through the Labor Management Oversight Committee. That is not happening today. We have contractors that need technical assistance. They're small contractors, and they receive no assistance. We don't even have a clear understanding of what each area of providers, what their specialty is. In the past, we would have, there would be a survey done, especially for contractors that are working on the project, to say, how many people are you planning on hiring, right? The Bull Run Filtration Project has a potential of 4,700 new hires. It has certified firms that are participating over almost $500 million worth, right?
So I'm going to unpack this. So let's go back to what you said earlier so that I'm clear. What you said was that the COEP program, which is a reincarnation of a CBA that was put in place by Prosper. Tell me what year that was so that I know that we're talking apples to apples.
I believe it was 2016, and that was a city-run project.
City-run, and then in 2017, we got a new project. And I'm going to, because I need to get some clarification, DCA Oliveira, could you come up, please?
And you
Still
had,
here?
and you had reports in that time period where the annual reports are about this thick, and it showed, this is one of the reports that came out. There's another one.
So that was under a CBA?
That was under a CBA that gave.
And then we moved to the COEP program in 2017, right?
Yeah, eventually we moved to this new system.
This new program came DCA Oliveira in 2017, correct?
Yes.
And so we changed some of the rules. And what I want to make sure that we're clear on what exactly happened, because you said a couple of things, that there were some reports that were not done and there was some assistance that was not given to contractors. Now, we had a list of folks who got the technical assistance money and who got the workforce development money. Are those folks responsible for giving technical assistance for all the small contractors, or just the folks that they're working with?
Thank you for the question, Councilor Donnie Oliveira. For the record, the contractors that are providing services are not directed to only work with folks that are subcontractors on the projects. They have to, there's a nexus there that they have, there's a rubric, but it's not a one-to-one requirement.
Okay. And so what I think I'm hearing from Maurice is that there's an additional technical service that's needed. Is that what you're saying?
There's additional technical assistance that's needed, but even going one step further and saying with the rubrics, there are a number of areas in that rubrics that just are not being implemented, and it pertains to those newer contractors and those contractors that have been working on these projects. And so the contractors that we have subcontracted, and you'll hear from Pacific Mark as well, that are subcontracted to do city work project right now that need technical assistance. That technical assistance is not provided to them, nor do they even know where to go, nor do we have a list of for the service providers what their specialties are for the services that they're providing. So it's up to the contractor to try to hunt down services and try to hunt down who's serving what for
So
what.
you're saying under the old CBA, you all used to know where you could get technical assistance from?
That is correct.
So let's level set. Donnie, all the city-owned projects, all the subs are eligible for technical assistance. Is that what I'm hearing for the small folks? Do we have something that will give people where to go? Because we had a list on where to go for technical assistance.
Counselor, thank you for the question. I think you're identifying something that we've heard that we need to refine as far as our communications. The thing to make, I just want to reiterate from earlier, when the IGA, the current IGA was developed by the city and Prosper in partnership. Prosper is the administrator of the grants. We were looking at a more holistic ecosystem. We were trying, who wants to come work with the city? It was just a slightly different angle. I completely understand the concern that Maurice is flagging. It's real. He's asking for resources to be directly provided to subcontractors that are working on projects. That's a completely legitimate need. There's no question there. The program design today was not directly designed. Not to say it can't be, it just wasn't. And so what we're working, as I alluded to, we're working right now on is how can we, in the short term, for the remainder of this IGA, provide some additional resources to meet that gap that he's daylighting.
So you beat me to it. So I was going to ask you the question, what can we do to kind of fill the gap just until we actually do the 26-27, so that we don't have small contractors coming forward saying that the city is required to have technical assistance on all of their city-owned projects, and we're not getting it, and we don't know where to get it. And so I think that goes back to Councilor Canal's question in regards to, is there a report done?
The answer is the report is not done. We just confirmed that.
Yep, and that's what I'm saying. So I think there is a gap, and we need to figure out after this meeting how we can fill that gap so that those folks who are falling through this donut hole, that they're able to get what you say is statutory. Am I hearing that it's statutory that subcontractors get technical assistance on all projects?
I wouldn't say it's statutory. If the resources are there, absolutely. But if at some point the resources are...
So that's what we try to do, is to make sure that we have technical assistance on all projects, and who's offering that technical assistance and what it's for.
Councilor, I just want to make sure we're really clear. The resources are available for contractors that are working on projects, but it's not a guarantee that just because you automatically get them.
Okay.
I think, and again, I just want to be really clear, what Maurice has already flagged as a gap is something that we're aware of, and we want to try to rectify in the short term as best as possible, and note that that's something that we'll have to address in the next structure of the program in the next IGA.
And so what I'm talking about in the next IGA, I know we need to address that, but is there anything that we can do between now and the next IG? Because I think there's a hole that could possibly meet the criterion in terms of what we're hearing from Maurice that we have right now.
So I don't want to take up our partners' times here, but staff already started working on some ideas.
Okay, great.
Definitely want to check in with our service providers, because we have 5 groups that do great work. We want to make sure that they're at the table for that conversation as well as the contractors that are looking for the resources, and see what we can come up with. So I don't want to get ahead of that conversation, but
right.
That's what.
But I just want to make sure the conversation is being had, and that everybody recognizes that there's a hole.
Yep.
And that we need to fill that hole as much as possible before we do the new contract, and not just leave it to the new contract has to be done, and then we'll come back and address this. And I also want to make sure that we realize that you were under a CBA before, and it had different policies, it had different procedures, and it had different resources that were available. And so I want to make sure that we're not mixing and matching services with what was in our past compared to what we're doing right now. And so we recognize, and I think Councilor Canal and others on this committee recognize that there is a hole. And I appreciate you so much, DCA Oliveira, recognizing that hole and being willing to talk about it and possibly fill it. I'm not saying you'll be able to fill it totally, but to identify some opportunities to fill that so that people feel that we're doing what we need to do to make sure that our subcontractors are getting the necessary technical assistance that they should actually have. We want to make sure that these projects, that they're good, they're solid, that they're solid foundation-wise. And we don't want to have to come and have this conversation in public about this, because I think a lot of this stuff can be done administratively. It doesn't have to be done at the council level. And I'm really happy to hear you say you're willing to work to do that. Thank you so much for that. And Maurice, could you finish what you were saying, and then we're going to move on to Mark and then Faye.
Yeah,
or Faye and then Mark.
Definitely. And one of the things is in the IGA that you have at Prosper, it has rubrics. In that rubrics, it has some key elements that we're taking out of the old process that actually gives you ways of having the best results. The rubrics is not being implemented fully. There are parts of it that are taken, very few parts, and the majority of it is left. And so to implement the rubrics will actually address a lot of the challenges that the contractors that we are working with are facing to be able to be successful. One last thing, and so on the workforce side, in the past, there would be a survey that went out to us saying how many workers do you need in order to, like I said, we have 4,700 new potential jobs, right? And then we could, the pre-apprenticeship programs can align the training towards those work opportunities. That hasn't happened and hasn't been happening, so we are going to miss the opportunity to really make sure that people can participate on those job sites that reflect our city and our community.
And begin to train the pre-apprenticeships for the particular work that's coming in the future. I sit on the Transportation Infrastructure Committee, and we had a whole committee on Monday morning about the IBR project, and the administrator said that there were going to be thousands, up to 20,000 possible jobs. Mm-hmm. And so I could imagine someone would want to take an inventory of what kinds of jobs are needed for that particular project and to start training up from a pre-apprentice level so they can get into the apprenticeship. He said, look, some people are going to earn their journeymans on this project alone. Yeah. And so for me, if there's a way that we can help, and we do, we spend money on the pre-apprenticeship programs. Work Systems run that program, and I think that if there's a way that we can expand who we're helping to make sure that there's not a gap in services for technical assistance, that we do that. And DCA Oliveira is already committed to having those conversations and seeing where we can be helpful until this new IGA is put into play. I'd like to hear a little bit from Faye on this and give me your synopsis of what we can do to do better while we're implementing this current COEP program.
Thank you, Counselor. If it's okay, I'll proceed.
Yes.
I started working with.
Could you introduce yourself, please, and
sure.
Who you're with?
My name is Faye Birch, and I have FM Birch and Associates. And I am working on the Bull Run Facilities and Pipeline project.
Thank you.
I started working with the current Bull Run Pipeline portion of the facilities project in Sandy, Oregon in 2021, several years before the contractors were on site. We held many outreach meetings at the Portland Water Bureau and talked to all trade groups multiple times on their own turfs. PBDG members showed up and bid more than any other trade groups, and because I serve on their board, I knew it to be a big demand on the organization and staff to support them. The project is so large that a small project was roughly $40 million. So very few MBEs and WBEs could bid and manage at that level, and were matched up to the second and third tier level under the few later successful MBEs and WBEs. Even at the second and third tier level, they were impacted by big project requirements, on award and RIA requirements, some that I approached Prosper Portland to cover 18 months ago to assist covering. I received no results. Some of those I'll give you in a list. Insurance was an issue. Our team met with every contractor a week or two before they started work. They rarely had family insurance to cover all employees, and it had to be in place before they could start work. We met with them in a week, they started work in a week, and they weren't ready. Many were used to waivers, but waivers were no longer being issued. Several people walked away because they could not pay for their insurance.
And you're talking about their business insurance to...
Their business insurance had to be in place. It was a new thing for them, yeah. Those that scrambled and paid had to definitely make financial adjustments. No arguments here, having insurance for your employees and their families is the right thing to do. By way the PBDG program stepped in again and connecting all participants. Those were members, those were non-members, those were MBEs, WBEs, majority firms, and they helped them get their health insurance.
So we're mixing. So you're talking about health insurance versus business insurance. And so are you saying that...
Health insurance for their employees. It was it's a RIA requirement.
Okay.
On that project, yes.
Okay, great.
Another issue was material costs and supplies to meet requirements. If subs didn't have a line of credit to order materials, no project dollars were available to assist until payment could be made. So if you couldn't get the materials that were needed, you couldn't participate. Even if you got an award, you had to back out. Bonding on the pipeline, some were required to cover their own bonding cost if they left it out of their cost estimate. The confusion came because the other project, the other half of the project did not require bonding. Dumping fees was another issue. Unreasonable requirements of dumping of spoils required driving from Sandy, Oregon to Hillsborough on an hourly basis. And just hearing that, you know how ridiculous that is. That means you'd be driving all day long, back and forth, back and forth. So the contractor and the team checked every dump site in the Sandy area. None would accept the spoils, and so it was unsolvable. We had to find a owner in the area that would allow them to dump on that site. It couldn't be found. They had to back out, and they were penalized for not being able to meet that contract requirement, although it was unreasonable. Assistance with bid preparation. One firm wanting to do a good job hired an engineer to assist to understand project requirements and best approach. The engineer was costly, and his approach did not coincide with the project's overall approach. It was costly and ultimately was a part of the withdrawal from that award. Legal fees needed to resolve the issue, and though the contractor spent months preparing for the project that he was prepared to start, it didn't happen. He had to withdraw, and there was a great deal of mental anguish on his part.
So, Faye, I want to make sure that we get to everybody, but I want to understand something. You are a member of PPDG, right?
Yes, I'm on their board, yes.
And Maurice, you're a member of PPDG.
That's correct.
And if I remember correctly, I saw PPDG on one of the slides from DCA Oliveira as getting some technical assistance money.
Yes.
So why didn't we go through PPDG to get some of those?
The technical assistance funds at that time was identified for just a small sliver of what was needed, and I believe what was told is that the funds weren't project specific, so you couldn't necessarily use those funds for the particular project. The issues that we were bringing up, right?
So if they weren't project for specific, then there was flexibility in the use of those funds.
That wasn't what was articulated to the executive director.
So those funds were standard. So they were the same funds that were received in 21, 22, 23, 24. And then here comes a big $2 billion project with unexpected needs.
And basically, PBDG has been paying out of their general fund in order to help contractors as best as they can. The dollars that was provided by Prosper, well, and I could let the executive director talk a little bit on that, but we were constantly told that this wasn't covered underneath the agreement. This is one of the reasons why I said having the boots on the ground, having the contractors. You could sit there and say, hey, let's provide QuickBooks training for some contractors. The reality is if you have a contract at or the BES or Water Bureau, there's a lot of requirements. Those requirements are necessary and totally understandable, but the needs and the services are not aligned. And so we end up going beyond in providing the needs for those firms.
So were those items put into the GMC for the Bull Run to be able to? I mean, you have to get those things written into the GMC, right?
No, they're very tight. The GMC, yeah, is very tight. There's no additional.
Because I do know that when I was at Multnomah County and we did the Selwood Bridge, we put specific things in our GMC.
Yeah.
You remember that, Mark?
Yes.
We did put language in for technical assistance in the GMC. The GMC can be amended. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. This is a huge project, and I see what you're saying, but I want to make sure that we're saying we're on the same page with. I think PPDG gets $100,000 for technical assistance.
135, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was 135?
Yeah.
And so you're saying since that started, that we have this big $2 billion project, and there's health insurance, there's bonding issues, that, and there's certain kind of training expertise or tools that you need to be able to do this new project that wasn't required prior to, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so I get what you're saying. And so I want you to be able to, because you've outlined a few things from health insurance, like I said, to the bonding, to materials, to dumping fees, and having to do that every hour.
These are all new things, yes.
These are all new things. So when we have the conversation with DCA Oliveira, could you, I know you're working, could you participate with Maurice to outline these things or write something up so that he can include that in the conversations when we're trying to fill this donut hole?
Absolutely. That's the whole need here.
Okay.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. And Mark, could you quickly, before that, Keelan, what's our timeline? We have 20 minutes of
I'll make mine short.
Yes. No, we do we have, how many people do we have to testify?
We have 2 people signed up today.
Okay, so I want to make sure that we have time for those 2 people to testify. Mark, could you introduce yourself and quickly tell me what some of the concerns you have?
Yeah, I'll go real quick. I'm Mark Matthews with Pacific Mark Construction, the president. In the past, a lot of these 1% has not met who it needs to, has not met and came to who it needs to come to as far as the subcontractors go. A lot of people miss that a subcontractor is who hires all these apprentices, who brings all the help on the work that we need. So it's very important that we utilize these subcontractors to do the work we need to do. I've been on City of Portland. I think I've been on like 5 to 7 projects that the City of Portland had. And I have not once found that these subcontractors are getting the help they need. they might be getting the help to get the projects, but they're not getting the help they need
To
into
maintain
the
it.
to get in, once they get on the job, they don't know what to do. There's a lot of paperwork involved, which I get. I mean, you got to have the paperwork because that makes it transparent, get some transparency and also accountability for what we're doing. And it answers to the community and the taxpayers. So that's a very valuable thing, that we get them the help that they need. I have contacted the city of Portland, and they do send them to PBDG and to NAMAC and all them. But here's the issue we have. They only have so much funds to deal with. If you have 7 jobs going on and you're not getting but $130,000, and you do that and you're trying to get all these subcontractors, I hire about 25 to 30 subcontractors on each job that I do is all minority. I don't hardly hire any non-minorities, almost small minority women and VA, veteran-owned businesses, disadvantages. So I do hire a lot of minorities, as you know.
And small,
I've worked on the
underserved.
Selwood Bridge, I've worked on all these other projects. When you don't get the funds that's on that job to come back to that job to help those subcontractors, it's a moot point. We're getting ready to do, by the way, I am on Bull Run. We're getting ready to do Bull Run project. And on that Bull Run project, I have 95% of my subcontractors are definitely disadvantaged business.
They're disadvantaged, and that's what I wanted to ask you. Are these folks disadvantaged businesses?
Yes.
And that's how we're in this new climate. We need to understand who's disadvantaged.
Exactly. And so with me having those and not being able to give them help, just to hear my history, just the last 3 projects I did, I've lost 5 contractors on one project that went out of business. I had another project, 3 went out of business, and 1 just walked off the job. So we got to give them
Because of
help.
technical assistance?
No technical assistance, because PBDG only has so much money. NAMAC only has so much money. The bill only has so much money. But I do have a solution for this whole thing.
Okay, I'm excited about that.
Just because I'm in it, okay? And like I said, I'm on Bull Run, and I really feel the need that we have some solutions to all the problems that we have. And the solution I have is get that 1% and give it back to the project. And everybody might freak out about that, but if you give it back to the project and have them help so the subcontractors can get some help, and you have an advisory board anyway on those projects. So you take the advisory board, you find out what the contractors need, because the contractors work with the subcontractors, what the subcontractors need, and then you can allocate the help to them. And that solves the problem. Because you're helping the subcontractor on that job, you can bring them to work, you can bring them to the job, but if you don't help them, they're not gonna go anywhere. And you just hear what I just heard, 5 left, 3 left, that's 8 people gone for trying to get them into the work. So we got to get some help for them when they're working on the job. We have all these requirements that the city requires of us. So if you have the advisory board, give them, help us, City Portland Advisory Board, help us help those subcontractors and distribute the funds that way. At the end of the day, any surplus should go back to your general fund and you guys use it for whatever.
So
we're missing the point when we just say, okay, what about the apprenticeship program? What about this?
Right.
Well, they're getting the funds, a little bit of the funds anyway, but we need to get the biggest job.
No, I hear you. And I'm not happy about some of these small businesses going south.
Yeah.
Because they don't have the necessary tools to be successful on our projects.
Correct.
Because we do want to make sure that all of our disadvantaged contractors, subcontractors, that they're able to work. So do you want this new language to be put into the new 26-27?
Absolutely.
IGA, that's what you're talking about?
Absolutely.
So I want to make sure that that is one of the solutions. is to go through the advisory board and to do the 1%. Now, I think that there is an expired, there's a certain amount of money that can be put back, because this is a $2.1 billion project, right? Mm-hmm. And 1% of that, I will not do that math with those big numbers. 20 million, that's what my economist says on the committee. He said that's $20 million. And what you're saying is that would that $20 million be for the life of the project? Or?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because the requirements are so high, because they ask so much of us, and take it from me, I know I'm on the front line.
Okay.
And it's really important that we help these subs. I mean, I'm going to retire someday, I'm going to move on, but it's got to help, because it's going to help the community and the taxpayers.
And I think in terms of describing things and being on the front lines, that can also be used as a description. I don't know if our director of procurement is here. Being on the front lines, you don't have to come up, but is that a way that we can describe who needs help? And how we can help folks that need this technical assistance. It is a huge job. It is an opportunity for us to also create new business people who were not there before. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what government is for, to be able to make sure that they're serving all of their residents. And I think I have heard quite enough to be able to be effective to make sure that we're saying the right things. I want my committee member, Councilor Novick, to chime in on this.
I just wanted to know if people have any concern, if the 1% always went back to the individual project, would that mean that there's some smaller projects where 1% wouldn't be meaningful at all, so people would really, when working on those projects, we get no technical assistance?
No, because if you end up with a surplus, it's all about building the businesses up. Is that to me? I'm sorry.
It was to anybody, actually.
And I can answer that a little bit, because there are some that is coming out of your general fund as well. 2/3 of it is coming out of these ratepayer dollar funded projects. And so even if you were to take that 2/3 and say, okay, we're going to assign that to the project, I think what me and Mark's challenge and frustration is when we encourage a small business to participate, and then the support's not there, and then we're trying to exhaust PBDG's funds to support them, or we're doing it ourselves and they don't make it, right? And it's great that they win the job, but we want them to be successful throughout the life of the job and continue to bid on city projects and be successful. And so I think that there's a way of doing both, and I think that's a great question, and thank you for that. The thing is that we have $400 million that is currently contracted out, and that there's not really a sign of support for those firms. And so we need to make sure that they're starting off, this is the first interaction they're having with the city, right? We want it to be a positive interaction. We want them to say, I want to go after that other city project and that other one. We don't want them running away or going out of business, and that's what we're having, and that's where, like I said, we're two of the main contractors on these ratepayer dollars. We've been there through Washington Park, Columbia, and now on Bull Run, and we're seeing that our contractors are struggling, and we want them to be successful. And I believe the city, I believe BES, I believe everyone wants them to be successful, but we've got to give them the tools, and we've got to give them the help to make sure success happens.
May I clarify something, Commissioner? Yeah. You mentioned the GMC having technical assistance dollars. They do, and the things that I mentioned are all exceptions that are happening with the current Bull Run.
Okay.
Not things that would be covered on technical support. They're things that need to be paid for or supported, financed.
This is on top of?
On top of, yes.
And this can be used with ratepayer dollars and not necessarily our general fund?
Yeah, yes, that's a recommendation, yes.
Thank you. Councilor Novick, do you have any other questions?
No. Legacy have.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Dunphy.
Thank you. You know, I start trying to jump to solutions and trying to figure out where the pinch point was of something that went wrong here. And I'm not clearly something has gone wrong. And I can't tell if it is the underlying code that the city adopted or has implemented or has attempted to move. I can't tell if it's the IGA and a lack of oversight. I can't tell if it's implementation by Prosper Portland or bureaucratic processes that are sort of leaderless and rudderless in a lot of ways. What is your interpretation of where this really, like, what is the point where we as legislators can insert ourselves into this to try and make sure that this starts moving better? Maybe it's an unfair question to ask, but you have such history with this that maybe you can give us some insight.
And I could try starting to answer the question, right? And first thing I want to say is that both BES and the Warwick Borough staff has been excellent to work with. They have requirements. Those requirements are totally understandable.
Great.
Right. So I want to say that first, right? I want to say procurement office in the city has always been super helpful. So I don't think they understand the issues. Where I see the disconnect is that you have the contractor, and I think the contractors, great partners with the city as well. You have the contractors, the agencies, and everyone that has kind of skin in the game. They don't want to see a subcontractor fail, right? I think the disconnect, I think Prosper needs to be more connected, because at the end of the day, I think that they potentially can do harm, but not realize that they're doing harm because they're not on the job sites like me and Mark are every single day, working with the agencies to try to come up with solutions to problems and working with those subcontractors. Their priorities are not necessarily, they might be aligned, but they need to be more involved, engaged, and understanding, because when they provide technical assistance, I don't think that they have clarity on what technical assistance really looks like. Technical assistance for BES is totally different than technical assistance for me building your back deck in your backyard.
Yep. Councilor Dunphy, I think, and I want to try to answer some of your questions, because I think this is bigger than COEP.
Yep.
This is not a COEP necessarily issue. This is an issue, it's a policy issue on how we choose to go forward and how we choose to help disadvantaged businesses on contracts, especially these larger contracts and the smaller contracts that we have. So I want to give Randall Friesen from the building trades. I know he raised his hand to help answer that question. Randall, could you introduce yourself and give us some insight?
Hi there. Good afternoon. I'm Randall Friesen with the Columbia Pacific Building Trades Council. Thank you, councilors, for giving me the opportunity to weigh in. So back when ARWIA was negotiated, we are party to that contract, obviously, and the intent for the 1% set aside was to go back to the projects. So what I'm hearing here in this conversation is that it was agreed to then, but then from what DCA Oliveira, thank you. It sounds like the rules changed after that it was approved and implemented. So if the rules changed and that wasn't communicated and you didn't have all the parties at the table, then that's kind of the beginning of how I see that it happened.
With the new IGA after 2017, is that what you're talking about?
I think so, because once the 1% set aside was agreed to, that it was to go back to the ratepayer to benefit only the ratepayer, but that would mean it would be tied to that project. So it'd be project specific. It wasn't intended to be a fund generation to go to other purposes and needs. We agree that any kind of training program, non-traditional apprenticeship programs are important, but this fund was not set up to provide for those, unless they were connected directly to the project itself. So it sounds like things changed after it was implemented and it wasn't communicated. And so moving forward, I think better communication, following the rubric would be a good spot to work. And, it looks like just a lack of communication, but those other programs are important. It's important to support the community, but these funds were set aside specifically to benefit those specific projects.
So, Randall, do you all have any regular meetings with Prosper, like say on a monthly basis, so that we can find solutions to problems that contractors are having with some of our projects? Is there anything set up like that?
We don't have anything like that, but I would welcome the opportunity.
Okay. Thank you so much, Randall, for your expertise and giving us a 30,000-foot look from the building trades level. I want to also give Andre Ba, he has his hand up too. Andre, are you trying to chime in to Councilor Dunphy's question of where this problem lies, or you just have a bigger statement on what we could do better and how we could do it better?
I think it's both. Again, Andre Ba, I'm with Group AGB. I am the lead diversity manager for the Bull Run facilities. So that's both the pipeline and the facilities. I work with Faye, three other folks on those projects. I'm also on the Columbia Boulevard STEP project and worked in the industry in this area for about 30 years. I have a lot of history on the 1% and where it came from, how it got here. But first, I'd like to point out the 1% is, in general, as Prosper Portland indicated, comes from all the projects. However, there is a rubric, part of it that says ratepayer dollars has to go back to ratepayer dollars. That goes back to 2011, back to a court case that came out, and there was approval that you had to segregate the dollars. So the dollars that come from ratepayer, BES, and water projects have to somehow go back to those projects. The other dollars can go to other projects, but not Bull Run projects and BES projects have to go back to those projects. How they go back, I think, is the discussion item. Where the breakdown is in my view, I was trying to get to these dollars since I've been working on this like Faye since 2021. Originally, these dollars were included in the JV, in the proposal to be managed by the JV. However, they were taken out by council, and that's great.
What council? What year?
2017.
Okay, 2017.
Yeah, and so they took them out and directed those to go to Prosper Portland under the idea, and this is true, at the time, Prosper Portland had the best, broadest reach into 55% of those funds go to workforce, the 45 goes to contractors. That was the idea at the time, that, they had a broad perspective. They had a lot of connections into the community, not only workforce with work systems, but also on the contractor side with the community groups. The disconnect to me is that when I contacted Prosper Portland, many of the people talking in front of you contacted Prosper Portland, the community groups. We were told, I got an email from the director of the COEP at Prosper Portland saying, we cannot give you funds to help your project. That it just boggles the mind.
And this was back in 2017?
No, this is in May of this year.
Yeah.
And they said that before, and they've continued to say that they cannot provide funds to these projects.
And in 2020.
So what I heard today, what I heard today, you have a lengthy history on what has happened with these 1% funds over the years, even dating back to the CBA. But what I did hear today is that DCA Olivera, he is the new DCA for Prosper, and he's willing to sit down and work out some way that we can fill this donut hole until we can put all of this in the 26-27 IGA. Is that something that you're willing to work on with him?
I'm willing to work on it, but there's $2 million that have disappeared, and a lot of that money is ratepayer dollars that I'm unaware has gone to a ratepayer project. That's a problem. I mean, that's just a fundamental.
There's $2 million that disappeared. Where did you see it disappear from?
Well, Olivera said that there was a $2 million that is $2.5 million that's gone to him. It's been spent.
So it's
But
been
it's-
spent. It didn't disappear. It was spent.
Well, it's spent, but it didn't go to ratepayer
Programs.
that I'm aware of. You've got contractors, you've got workforce providers that haven't seen a penny.
Okay.
And we had 400 workers out of work. We went to Prosper Portland. They couldn't help them.
You mean during the bull run when we were waiting in the interim for the hearing?
Yeah, we were looking for help for those workers in any shape, way, or form and could not get any assistance at all.
Okay, I know what I'm going to do. I appreciate that information. I appreciate all of you spending the time in your busy day. A lot of what you do is during the day, and to come here in the middle of the afternoon to be able to educate us on what should be happening, that is great. So there's two things that I have next. I want to, and this directly affects you all. So I want to move to the third agenda item around the disparity study. I want you all to stay here for a second. Go ahead, Keeling.
Thank you. Number 3, authorize use of disparity studies to inform and support minority contracting opportunities.
Okay. So, couple things, and we may not be able to go in detail because we need to at least have 40 minutes for, well, we only have 2 people that are in the queue, but we need to at least have 30 minutes for discussion. I put forward a ordinance that would allow the city of Portland, because currently we don't have a recent disparity study. And some of the contractors had said to me that maybe we could use the 2023 State of Oregon disparity study to show some of the disparities for the city of Portland and for some of the disadvantaged businesses that are here. And so I put that into a draft form, but I wanted to get your sense of how you felt about it. And I also, and I thought I was going to see Heidi here. I don't see Heidi. Oh, Heidi. So Heidi is with our city attorney's office. And I wanted to make sure that I am so in compliance and in bounds of what I'm saying, Heidi, and what the possibilities are. I think that you can level set us, because my idea, you know, every idea that I have, I don't think necessarily that it's the right idea. I just think it is an idea. So I bring it forward because I think I am solving for a solution that might need solving. There's been a lot of conversation about contracting and underserved businesses and how we can help those businesses further with these contracts that are run by the city. And I was like, well, let's see if we can use the disparity study from PBOT from 2018 and the disparity study from the state of Oregon for 2023. And I wanted to get your sense on if that's something that's possible that we can use, and it might have some impact on these folks who are sitting here today.
Thank you. Good afternoon, councilors. Heidi Brown. I'm with the City Attorney's Office. Good to see you all.
Thank you.
So yeah, Councilor, your question about there was a disparity study done by the state in 2023, as you noted, looking at whether there were disparities in use of minority and women-owned businesses, and finding that there was a disparity in that. And there was a study done by the Port of Portland in 2018 that made some similar findings. What is required by case law in looking at when you want to give a preference or have a program or service that is specifically given to people based on their race. So in other words, we want to say if you're a Black contractor, an Asian contractor, any particular community of color, that you have to first have done a study showing that the government entity that's wanting to give a preference is the one that historically caused some harm, discrimination that resulted in a disparity. So we'd have to look at, did the city of Portland's actions create some disparity in the past that was discriminatory towards these particular
demographics?
Demographics, yeah. So it wouldn't be broadly, any community of color, it would be you'd have to look at each demographic to see which races maybe were disparately impacted by the city's conduct in the past. And then we would look at a disparity study would then look at how can we have to narrowly tailor our remedy. If there's other remedies we could use that aren't race-based, we're required by the law to use non-race-based ones. But if we can't, because the only solution is you've left out people of color, let's say Black business owners have been historically left out, continue to be underrepresented within the market, and therefore then you would say, okay, you are in that circumstance allowed to narrowly tailor your remedy. Maybe you say, okay, we're gonna do this is our goal, a percentage, and we work towards that goal in seeking to meet it. I would also—
Does that include gender as well?
It would include whatever you're finding a historical disparity. So it would be gender, it would be race. There's a slightly lower standard for gender than race because of the historical discrimination. The courts, because historical discrimination against Black people and other people of color, it's a very strict standard to be able to give a preference based on race, because historically it was always given to white people.
You make an important point, Heidi, that this is not new. This is old case law.
That's
you
correct.
have to meet, and so I want to make sure that the contractors. So what are you telling me about my ordinance? Give me the 1, 2, 3.
So,
I won't hurt my feelings.
No, thank you, Counselor, and I appreciate that. So we wouldn't be able to use an existing disparity study for our actions. We need to have a disparity study done on behalf of the city that would show the city conduct that led to a disparity, and then what narrowly tailored remedy would we provide in order to remedy that problem that we created and that persists.
Okay, I thought I was being clever. So one thing I want to hear from Maurice, because Maurice, you believe that we could use these studies.
So I know that we've had the disparity studies in the past, right? And so we're basically the information or the data that is collected through that. If the data, and I think the BBC did both disparity studies in the past.
Now, who is the BBC?
So they're the organization that was hired by the city to do the disparity study. I think Prosper also did one simultaneously.
What year are we talking about?
Oh,
so this is years ago, because we haven't had one in many years.
And they're basically like bread; they go bad after a period of time. But my understanding, I thought possibly that if you have the data collected, right, and still showing the same results from the previous disparity study, and you have a regional approach, so whether it's if ODOT's doing a disparity study or the state does a disparity study, shows a disparity, if the Port of Portland does a disparity study and it also shows a disparity, and it's not necessarily that the city's disparaging against those firms, but it might be the contractors or the way. And so then it's being—
But it's not statutory that, and so I think what Heidi is saying, what she's talking about is statutory. And that's what we're going to have to deal with, right?
It's federal law on an equal protection clause of 14th Amendment of the Constitution, and also Title VI of the Civil Rights Act, which, and then the interpretation of that by the courts has been to say that you have to show that that our actions were the one that caused it. So we can't use the ports, even though it's the same area, and maybe some of the data could be shared.
It has to be our direct action.
They'd have to look at what did the port do, what did the city of Portland do, what did Multnomah County do, in order to comply legally with that.
Okay, I want to get a couple of my counselors' questions quickly in here, because we're going to be riding up against a lot of time. Counselor Dunphy.
Thanks. I want to just point out that between there's a through line here between a lot of these issues that we're talking about, and there's a certain degree of, I don't know if it's irony, because I don't want to use the word incorrectly, but the fact that the previous city council entrusted what used to be known as the Portland Development Commission, who is just directly responsible for incredible amounts of gentrification and harm to the Black community, we entrusted these dollars to that organization. under the old system of government with the arm's length relationship between the city and Prosper. And you are now coming back to us again saying that yet again, the old PDC is poking its head out and it's not meeting the community where it's needed to, and it's not listening to the demands of what this city council has ordered. It feels as though there has to be the disparity that has happened in this community because of the actions of our government historically are so clear that I feel like there has to be some easy way that doesn't involve us spending $500,000 in the next 9 months to try and put an Excel spreadsheet together on a fancy PDF. This is I'm just continually frustrated by this relationship between the city and Prosper Portland. And we need to have an ability for the elected officials to direct how these dollars are spent and direct staff on how to actually implement what we're trying to accomplish. So I appreciate, Councilor Smith, you trying to see what documents we had on hand already to try and push us across. It feels like a plain text reading of a history book at this point shows the disparities that we have caused and are continuing to cause today. I just wanted to, it was just eating at me and I needed to say something.
And I appreciate your comments, Councilor Dunphy, but I'm going to go back and I'm going to say this again, because when you have new eyes, and I see DC Oliveira as new eyes. When you have DCA Donna Paul, I see her eyes as new eyes, looking on something and comparing them to the previous Portland Development Commission. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to deal with the folks that are in play today and give them an opportunity to show us what can we do when we're trying to be creative about helping the most vulnerable of our disadvantaged businesses in the city, how we can do that. I'm willing to sit down and talk to them and come up with some creative ways that we can get some dollars so that we can continue to keep businesses, our small businesses in the city of Portland with boots on the ground. I think there's not going to be any way for us, Councilor Dunphy, to get out of not doing a disparity study. And I appreciate your comments. I'm not wedded to anybody's idea, but I want to do it the right way. And I just thought that I was being, like I said, a little bit clever and trying to use what we had as existing. And we probably already know what the response is going to be, but we have to go and do our own due diligence. Because I have a feeling that this is going to be needed across the board. Mm-hmm. And this is a great way to start with the contracting first. Councilor Canal, could you give us a few comments on this?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I think it's interesting to me, the argument about, and this has nothing to do with our city attorneys, but it's a federal issue, the idea that there's a higher level of scrutiny applied to anything related to race because of the history of racial discrimination seems counterintuitive. You would imagine there'd be a lower standard given the fact that, as Councilor Dunphy put it, there's a plain text reading here. It's also disappointing to hear that because we utilize state standards for a lot of the state certification, for a lot of how we assess a firm in terms of are they an emerging small business, whatever those particular COVID certifications are. The state's data should be relevant in as part of this. I understand that maybe the study itself, but as a part of this conversation. And I think I want to keep the focus on that because there's three different parts here that are notable to me. One is the clear disparity in the ratio from available firms to firms that are being utilized in that state study, right? The second issue is, given our role in part at helping people get started, the fact that availability itself is so low, right? 33.9% of available firms are owned by either white women or people of color. That is significantly lower than the share of population. And the third part, which is sort of outside of the clear tables, has a lot to do with another line of work that we're in, which is theoretically assisting smaller firms with developing their capacity and being able to move from being subcontractors to prime contractors. And you can see the disparity in the dollars that are going, even when a firm is utilized, that is either woman-owned or person of color owned. You can see the disparity in the amount of dollars that's going. And I think that's, I'm choosing to use this time to bring that up because we are going to have to do a separate disparity study, and it's going to take a lot longer than we should have to do it. But you don't need to be a rocket scientist to understand that these are 3 lines of work that the city is in. Well, depending on how you consider Prosper as part of the city, but not. 3 lines of work that the collective of the city government and Prosper are in that are that have disparities. I am open to the conversation, as I have been this whole time, about the democratic accountability of Prosper Portland to the city government. I have significant concerns there, as well as I know at least 2 of my colleagues do. And then I'll just take the opportunity to say, and this is related, I think, to the previous agenda item as well, I really appreciate our panel being here. And I also know that there's a lot of folks who wouldn't have the bravery to come up and talk about, the experiences that you've had with government. And so for anyone else who's listening who maybe wasn't a part of this but have similar or different experiences, please feel free to reach out to my office. I would love to hear from you and talk to you about it. And I know that many folks are in conversation with other council offices. Feel free to add me to your list. I am broadly looking at how we can grow our contractor pipeline, how we have accountability for the dollars spent, decision-making processes for how we determine who gets money, and better options in terms of what's on the menu for contractor assistance. Those are the things that I'm looking for, and I'll be talking to the DCA for Public Works and that team, procurement, some of the firms as well as the folks who are providing technical assistance. And the last thing I wanted to add is, it appears that the things I cited in the last agenda item, and I think this is relevant here too, are no longer in code or in administrative rules, requiring some of the things. We're looking for whether it got moved. But this committee heard a agenda item from Councilor Dunphy reinstating a portion of code related to fair wage policy a few months ago for contractors. And the reason that was necessary is because the old council, in a large package deal, redid code in November, October and November of last year. And it appears that's what happened here too. I'm verifying that, but it appears that everything related to COEP and the annual report and all that stuff, including the administrative rules, was repealed as part of a wholesale repeal and replacement of Title V of City Code. If that's the case, I'm going to verify that. Either way, the fact that it's not the same numbers as it used to be, and this is not old code. This was created in 2020, right? This entire set of code around COEP. If that's the case, it's very concerning to me. Both in terms of what it says about the democratic process to have the administration provide such a large repeal of code at the same time back then, especially after an election or in the midst of it at best. And secondly, what that does for the accountability for this program. And that doesn't mean that staff are not wanting there to be accountability. I don't mean to imply that at all. But I do want to make sure that we're working together as a committee and eventually as a council to create clear requirements that create predictability for when we hear information about the success or failure of our programs. And to that end, I also want to make sure that if someone asks Prosper who is getting support through technical assistance, they get a list, that we publish the list of firms that get that information is made public, and we're not saying that we cannot allow people access to that list, which has happened in the past. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Councilor Kanal. We will double team that information to see what's happening with the code. And just as we have done with some of the noise ordinances, we'll bring it back to this committee to try to get that reinstated so that we have a basis to stand on. I have one more question before we go to public testimony, and that's Councilor Green. Could you please answer your question, sir?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. As one of the co-sponsors of your ordinance, I want to say I was ready to follow you on this because I appreciate your leadership in this moment. We're in a very important moment in history where it's important to stick our necks out for the communities we were elected to serve.
Thank you.
And I thought this was a really creative approach, and I really appreciate, Heidi, your doing your due diligence and making sure that we're doing it right. So it seems like we'll probably have a little more work to go down this road to do some explicit disparities. I want to echo everything that's Councilor Kanal said. I mean, racial disparity was written into this Constitution in this state. Like it's in our bones. And so and Portland's the largest city, so it's sort of absurd to think that that one could not infer the same underlying process of discrimination that created disparities at the local level or the state level. And so I just wanted to name that. We'll follow the letter of the law, of course. In thinking through this kind of code, the case of the disappearing code piece, I also note that that involved a community equity inclusion committee. That's a necessary community governing aspect of that, and it's sort of ascribed in the administration rules, which are also no longer present.
Right.
And I don't even know if this committee meets, who's on the committee, and whether or not they're an active part in this, but this is something that we need to be thinking about because that's part of that ordinance that created all this. So I don't know if our panelists have any experience with that committee, if you wanted to offer a comment, if the chair allows it.
Councilor Green, I think that that code in that particular entity went on vacation with the $2.5 million that they said disappeared as well. So
I'll leave it at that then.
Right, but people come back from vacation, right?
Yeah.
And so when we come back off of our recess over the next 2 weeks, we'll be better informed about, when things have been missing or how we get things back in. I think this is obviously under this kind of scrutiny that we're going to be in from the federal government standpoint, that we want to do this. We want to do this everything right, Heidi. I thought I saw Sarah, but I don't know if she's here. I want to bring up DCA Morrissey just to make sure that we totally are able. Thank you so much, DCA Morrissey. Could you introduce yourself? I want to make sure that I am saying the right things because we do have an executive order around how we do things. And this was just a conversation about the ordinance. I'm not going to take a vote on it today. I'm not going to try it in this current form. But like I said, I was trying to be clever. And I just wanted to make sure if there's something that you need to add to this conversation to help us better go forward in terms of helping this group of disadvantaged businesses.
Thank you, Councilor. For the record, Sarah Morrissey, DCA for City Operations. I think there's an opportunity you could direct a resolution. Instead of an ordinance that has these studies, you could revise and have a resolution, and you could give the direction, or not direction, but you could have a whereas where we would conduct a disparity study on behalf of the City of Portland. Perfect. For workforce and for contracting. And then we would work on the administrative side and your office to make that happen.
Well, see, that's why I got all these smart folks around me. That sounds great. Is that something that you all would support? Putting a resolution forward, asking them to do a disparity study. I know you wanted to use this information so that you'd have this in your back pocket quickly, but would you support me putting forward a resolution that would direct the administration to participate in a disparity study?
Yes, most definitely. And I think that disparity studies take time. And
I know.
The firms obviously need help today. But
DCA Morrissey, how long would a disparity study take if we got this through our committee in 2 weeks?
And I would say we could start scoping work. What we do need to do is identify budget to fund the study work. But we have been speaking to firms, and we would be using a lot of the data that's been talked about today, as well as the work that has been led by the port with their disparity study. So in some of the estimates we've been receiving, basically if you start in September, you could see a completion date by March of 2027. Or 2026. I don't know what year it is. That would be a very long timeline. But yeah, so basically it would be running from September of this year through March of 26. Yeah, correct.
Perfect, and that would be actually just before the budget. And so if there were some additional things that we needed to do, because I don't think this is just a total COEP problem. I think there's a universal issue here, and we need to separate the ratepayer money versus the money that can be used from general fund to see how we can layer some of these things to make sure that everybody is getting the kind of technical assistance and workforce development dollars from the city, and that we're being good partners. And it is not lost on me. It's not lost on me that you all who have contracts with the city of Portland, that you all came here and spoke today. That was very risky, and I understand that. So y'all, please don't get on these folks because they're speaking their truth. And it is to make us better. And I appreciate you all identifying the great partnership that you've had with the city, because that's important. We need to maintain these partnerships. We need to have a line of communication, and we need to have a place, a safe space where we can, like Randall said earlier, if we could have a monthly meeting so that if there are some things that come up and we want to create some opportunities for solutions to problems, and all of them are not going to be administrative and they're not going to be legislative. We can solve some of these things in-house. So thank you so much. I want to go to our next. Agenda item so we can hear from the public, so you all can hear what the public is saying too. But thank you so much. Yes.
Item 4, labor and workforce development, community feedback. First up for testimony, we have Contractor.
Okay, fantastic. Can I begin? Hi there. Good afternoon, Chair Smith, Vice Chair Green, and members of the Labor and Workforce Development Committee. For the record, my name is Contractor, and I'm the Policy Director for the Oregon chapter of the National Association of Minority Contractors, or NAMEC, if you want to say all that. We are a business association that represents minority-owned construction firms across the state, working to ensure equitable access to public contracting and workforce opportunities. The Community Opportunities Enhancement Program, or COEP as I like to call it, is not an abstract program. It directly funds training, mentorship, and technical support that have been helped dozens of BIPOC contractors and workers build stable careers in our industry, as you've heard today. I just want to give you information on NAMEC. Through COEP, NAMEC Oregon alone has served 242 small businesses owned by people of color and delivered over 1,700 hours of technical assistance since 2021. We are just one of nearly a dozen partners COEP has. But this conversation is not about NAMEC. I think you may have heard me say this before during the Prosper budget hearing, but these aren't just numbers. They represent real people, business owners gaining access to contracts, workers building sustainable careers, and families contributing to the resilience of Portland's economy. That's why we were deeply concerned about proposals to use COEP funds to help cover costs of any project. This approach is counterproductive. The reality is COEP's contributions to any project would be a drop in the bucket. Using Bull Run as an example, it's a $2 billion project. As I know it, COEP has about $2.5 million in its budget usually. That's 0.1% of the entire project. It doesn't make any sense. But the damage to small businesses and workforce development would be significant. 141 businesses were served by COEP, as you saw in the slides earlier today. 141 last year, 2023, 2024. That's a lot. By pulling money from COEP, the city would weaken the very pipeline of diverse contractors and workers that those projects like Bull Run would actually need and rely on. And I'd like to point out something Mr. Mark Matthews stated about the 1% set aside from COEP. With the Bull Run project, expected $2 billion to completion, 1% of that is $20 million, but per city ordinance, COEP funds, what that 1% set aside is from hard costs. I don't need to explain to anyone in this room behind me what hard costs and soft costs for construction is. It would be significantly less than $20 million that you would get back. In other words, we'd be taking dollars away from developing the very businesses and workforce we want to see on these projects, only to spend a minute fraction of it patching up the small gaps in fundings for those projects. NAMEC Oregon strongly believes in equity in public contracting and accountability. So, per city ordinance again, COEP dollars are intended to support business development for disadvantaged construction trades businesses. If we start diverting funds, we risk eroding trust, slowing progress in the workforce development, and undermining one of the city's best tools for dismantling systemic barriers in contracting. I urge you all to protect the integrity of the COEP funding. Civic projects are vital, but they must be funded through their own dedicated resources, not at the expense of businesses and workers who are finally getting a foothold in this industry. And that's my time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Anjanette Banuelos Bilanos.
Hello, Council. Thank you for having me here.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for having me here and allowing me to speak today. My name is Anjanette Banuelos Bolanos. I'm a business representative for La Una Local 737. I'm also in District 1. I'm also a ratepayer for Portland Water Bureau. We represent over 2,800 members statewide. At the time of the Bull Run project shutdown, my union alone had between 150 to 200 members working on the site. This included, they were employed by several minority-owned, women-owned emerging businesses on this project. The project was shut down for nearly 120 days, which negatively affected our members as well as these businesses. We are still not back at the original number of members on site. As of last week, we only had 55 to 60 members back to work. Our training center ramped up and enrolled new apprentices into our program to ensure contractors would be successful to meet the requirements of REIA. And in part was working with Portland Youth Builders, or Oregon Tradeswomen, PYB, and several of the other pre-apprenticeship programs. Some of these participants even quit their jobs to join a union apprenticeship because, like you said earlier, that they would, some of these people would be able to start as an apprentice and journey out on this project. However, when the project shut down, it displaced many of these new apprentices and required contractors to send both journey workers and apprentices back to the hall. While the project was shut down, contractors lost parts of their workforce. As some of these members had to go back to the hall, they were able to be sent out to other projects, but not all. Once the project started, contractors didn't have the same workforce as they did before the shutdown. They were now facing unexpected costs associated with onboarding new members and onboarding new members and new employees, which included time requirements for orientations, new drug testing, new certifications, because on this project they need to have certain qualifications to be able to take the job. The workforce they had prior had met all the requirements and all the training that they needed, and now this is another unexpected cost that some of our contractors are facing. In short, is that this project is affecting all of us, ratepayers, union members, non-union members, contractors, and pre-apprenticeships, and I would like just that to be, okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, I appreciate you.
That completes testimony, Chair.
Thank you, Keeling. I want to kind of see how we can rework this ordinance, and I want to refer the ordinance back to my office for further work. And could I get a DCA Danapal and DCA Oliveira, thank you, back up to the diocese. So here's what I think I'm going to do, and I think it's going to be helpful to all of us. Would you all support me in my efforts to rework this ordinance and refer the draft ordinance back to my office to do further work and do what DCA Morrissey suggested, to do just a straight out disparity study in general? Are you all okay with that? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much. So I move committee members to refer the draft ordinance back to my office for further work and change it from an ordinance to a resolution.
Second.
Thank you. Counselor Novick, do you have a problem with this? Are you good? Okay. No. I just want to make sure because I have to check in with y'all. So what do we need to do next, Keely?
I think if there's no objection, it can just be referred back to you.
Okay, and you're good. So we don't have any objection, and so that's what I'm going to do. Do you have any closing comments? Any of you DCAs of things that you've heard that you wanted to clear up?
Chair Donnie Oliveira, for the record, just to reiterate our commitment to working with the folks who spoke in the room today and our other partners to continue to refine the program. We're open to the feedback, and we're trying to make do with, I think the point that was made very clear is with limited resources, with a lot of need. So
yes,
happy to do that work.
Thank you.
And everything that DCA Oliveira said, we are committed to doing the work together with the partnership and looking forward to working together with the offices as well.
Thank you, and I look forward to working with your offices. So as we have these conversations, it sounds like Councilor Canal we'd like to tag team this along with our vice chair to make sure that we can get something done, because I think oftentimes when people come to us, their expectation is, yes, that we listen, but their other expectation is that we go into action around something. And I think we're going to do that policy-wise that will help us long-term, not just for a few months, but it will help us identify how we can change the language for 26, 27, and also give us the ammunition that we need to fight some of those people who don't particularly care for us doing disparity studies, and they don't care about them, and I won't say who their names are either. So for the good of the order, I am going to close down this committee hearing, and I want to thank all of you for testifying. Thank you so much, Maurice, for pushing us to have this conversation in a way that's meaningful. I think this was a very meaningful hearing, and it gives us an opportunity to say what this administration is going to do, because we've been going on previous administrations, and so we have to level up to our own administration. And I think that you all have been good about opening your doors to make sure that voices are heard. So for the good of the order, I am going to close down the committee. Any other words, committee members?
Yeah, I'll just say 3 out of the 4 DCAs were here in this meeting, and I just appreciate all of you, as well, all 4 of you, for coming into these meetings so often, and we don't always express it. I know you've had stuff earlier today. We may have stuff later today in at least one case, and yesterday as well, but appreciate you and your team spending time with us today.
Thank you. Any other comments, Mr. Novick?
Yes, I just wanted to say when Sarah said 2027, I thought that was real and thought, oh man, that's how long it takes to do those studies. So I was relieved and surprised to find out it was actually 2026.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you for coming, DCA Morrissey. That your comments have been received very well, and all of you. Thank you. We're closed.